Success in TFT often comes down to consistently making smart, small decisions that add up over time to improve your standing. Luckily, there's an abundance of data and tools available that can streamline and guide these choices, making it easier to climb the ladder. I'm going to go through what I think are the best and why to hopefully help you improve. None of these that I'm going to mention have asked me to do this, and all opinions are my own. I'll leave links in the description to each, and if there's any that I don't mention that you think are good, then let me know in the comments below. Let's get into it. First up, we have the Augment Data from tactics.tools. This site has a few great tools to give you an advantage in TFT, but the best one in my opinion is the Augment Data. Augments have a huge impact on the results of your overall placement of a game, so spending time to review the best performing ones after each patch will give you an advantage over those who don't. The data allows you to see the top 4% of each augment, along with its average placement at each stage that it can be offered. If you want more in-depth stats on a particular augment, you can expand on it by clicking this icon on the right hand side of the augment, and it will open up a new page which shows the individual placement distributions and what units, traits and augments it's best paired with. In my opinion, the most important stats to look for are the average placement at each stage, and of course the lower this is the better, but you should use common sense when looking at the numbers. For example, the average placement of the Noxus Crest augment at 3.2 is 3.74, which is really good. But if you pick this when you don't have any Noxus units to begin with, then the chances are you're not going to get anywhere near that placement. Or another example is when you're given an AP related augment like Magic Wand, when you're playing an AD only composition, it's just not going to work for you. I mainly like to use this quickly during a game on a second monitor when I'm given two similar augments that would benefit my composition, but I'm unsure of which has the best placement. A great example for this is the Tons of Stats and Gifts of the Fallen augments, as these are both solid augments to choose, but Tons of Stats has slightly better final placements. Next up, we have another dataset from tactics.tools, and this time it's related to items. Similar to the Augment Data, we can see the average placements for each item and the associated top 4%. Again, like the Augment Data, this is particularly useful when offered more than one item that would benefit your team, such as the recent support items that were introduced in the previous set. Be careful with the data though, as the stats rely heavily on the champion it's equipped to. Right now, some of the Radiant items have really high placement stats due to the fact that in the current meta, Demacia is very strong, and that equips certain Radiant items as part of the trait, which skews the data a little bit. This final feature from tactics.tools is the most sophisticated one, aptly named Explorer. It allows you to delve into the game data I've mentioned earlier, like placement rates and top 4%, by applying 3 filters related to the game. These filters include units, items, augments, and activated traits. Its power lies in the ability to aid in theory crafting new compositions. With some experimentation, it provides solid insights on what to watch for when trying to enhance a particular composition. For instance, if you recall the guide where I discussed one trick in Sorcerers to Masters, I highlighted the best augments for that build. With Explorer, we can examine data across various in-game scenarios to predict placement outcomes. Let's use a specific example, starting with a 2-star Silco and a 2-star Taric, the mainstays of the composition I mentioned. The data shows an average placement of 4.18 and a top 4 rate of 57% from a pool of 400,000 games. Adding a 1-star Shen to the mix tends to lower the average placement, often resulting in bot 4 finishes unless the lobby is particularly weak. If you replace that with a 2-star Shen, we see a significant improvement, an average placement of 3.76 and a top 4 occurrence of 66%. It might seem straightforward that a 2-star Shen outperforms a 1-star, but this precise data can directly influence your in-game decisions. If you find yourself mid-game somewhere in the lower half of the lobby, with a 2-star Silco, a 2-star Taric and a 1-star Shen, deciding whether to roll for an upgrade becomes a strategic decision informed by how it could potentially improve your placement. I highly recommend giving this feature a try. It's been incredibly valuable to me, particularly simplifying complex decisions. Next up are composition guides for TFT. There are lots of them now, and each offers a viewpoint on the best compositions in the current meta. The community often has mixed feelings about these sites. Some players think following these guides to the letter takes away the fun of the game, while others find them incredibly helpful. I'm in the middle. I believe these guides are useful, especially for newcomers and those at an intermediate level. However, they should be taken with a grain of salt, since there's only so far they can take you. Consider the guides from Mobalytics as an example. They rate compositions using tiers, show the final composition with the best items of each unit, recommended augments, and provide a plan for the early and mid-game. This information is great, but it's not always possible to get everything exactly as suggested. New players in particular might follow the guides exactly, avoiding making any items or playing their strongest board until they can match the guide's recommendations, which often results in more losses. If you use the guides more as a starting point and less as strict instructions, they can be incredibly valuable for understanding the basics of the composition. I'll list a few sites in the description for you all to check out. Finally, this is more of a general one, which most of you probably use already, and that is sites to view your own profile and track your progress. These sites offer more information on your ranked history, with stats for your placements, champions, traits and augments. I like to use LolChess as I find the UI much cleaner than the others. This also lets you produce a report at the end of each set, where it shows you fun achievements you did, such as going on a top 4 streak or finishing a game with lots of 3-star champions. That wraps up this guide. With just over 2 weeks to the launch of the next set, I'll be creating plenty of new guides upon its release. If you found this content helpful, consider subscribing for more, and I'll see you in the next one.